Are you tired of settling for less in your life, in your relationships, in your career, in your money? Do you ever feel like you're holding yourself back from achieving your true potential? Well, you're not alone. I have felt that way. Many people struggle with self doubt and just really doubting their abilities to do the things they really want to do in life. All right, let's get into it. I'm Travia Stewart, and this year on the podcast, you are about to experience ways to stop settling in your relationships, careers, and lifestyle. No more settling for the bare minimum. This is Breakthrough. Yo, my peeps, happy Podcast Thursday. I just love saying that. That Podcast Thursday has such a different kind of ring to it than Podcast Tuesday. I really like Podcast Thursday. So welcome to the Breakthrough Podcast. And, I'm diving deep today in what is going to be the foundation of the next, several months of really diving deep into helping you create the life that you want to really live instead of, participating in one that you don't, that you're unhappy with. So to begin with, I want you to imagine a life where you're not afraid to take risks, where you believe in your abilities, where you have the confidence to pursue any dream that you want to, where the first thing that comes up is not that I'm too old, it's too late, I'm too young, whatever that thing is. And I want you to think right now, ask yourself, what is that thing that kills more dreams than anything else? Is it failure? No, it's not. It's doubt. And you see, because doubt shows up in so many different ways. Doubt in what we can accomplish in life. Doubt in our abilities. Doubt in our strengths. Doubt in our decision making. And when we think about where doubt was born, doubt was born in our past experiences. The negative beliefs that have been ingrained in our mind, and doubt comes from the ways in which we've been conditioned. So we doubt ourselves when things don't go our way, and then we double down, that same thing didn't go our way, and then the doubt becomes a belief because we're like, okay, two times, three times, this thing did not work out for me, then I must not be good at it. This is not my strength. And so, again, it stems from our conditioning and past experiences. But one thing I want you to remember is that these doubts, these beliefs are not facts. They're just stories that we've all been telling ourselves about what we're capable of. And doubt it's sneaky in how it shows up. It's sneaky in how it talks us all out of what we really want to do. And so this thing didn't just, we weren't born with it. And so believe it or not, we all start out in the world as, fearless, joyful, little beings that want to explore and are curious about every single thing in the world. But why do we end up as adults questioning ourselves, questioning our abilities as adults? And so our default setting as a kid is that we don't worry what other people think of us. We don't worry about, as a kid, oh my God, am I going to look stupid when I begin to learn to walk, when I go from crawling to walking? But as adults, we worry about what we look like when we're walking, right? And so as a kid, we begin to be conditioned based on what we're making it mean. Sometimes this has to deal with our parents, our teachers, sometimes our friends, our siblings, our circle, because everyone's got an opinion. Some people cheer us on, others, might not be so encouraging. And basically the opinions of others begin to shape how we see ourselves. When we talk about the main thing that affects how we see ourselves, we talk about, social media. And it's not just the people that you know in your life. It's everyone everywhere. It's the constant comparisons that, what we do and think about other people and how we stack up against and with those other people. You know, your life could be awesome, but seeing someone else's highlight reel on Instagram, on TikTok, those things mess with your head, because then you begin to compare where you are in your life compared to where they are. And again, that's their highlight reel. Most people aren't just showing, the shit in their life. They're showing the great things, and, I don't share a lot of the shit in my life with you guys. So it's a highlight reel. But one thing I do, I talk about it on this podcast because I want to be real with you. Now, we talk about self-doubt being the biggest thing that kills dreams. But what I want to really dive into right now is a secret sauce. And this is something that I am so good at talking about, nurturing. And we're talking about the blueprint for success is confidence. Confidence, or a lack thereof, is like an invisible force that guides and directs our decisions and actions. And as, I, for one, underestimate the impact, but it really does shape the way that we perceive ourselves and, how we move through the world. And again, what's on the other side of doubt? Well, that's confidence. But today I want to break it down for you. Okay, we're going to talk about self-confidence and self-efficacy. And so when we talk about confidence as a whole, that's more of a broad term that refers to a person's ability, the overall belief in their abilities and skills. Confident, I believe that I'm a very confident person. I'm confident in my life. But when we now begin to differentiate between self-confidence and self-efficacy, self-efficacy refers to an individual's belief in their ability to succeed in certain situations, very specific situations, or accomplish something very specific. It's a narrow concept focused on a specific type task, confidence. Now, I'm overall a very confident person, but my self-efficacy may be is low in things like math. My self-efficacy to have a job with analyzing data analysis is very, very low. And that's something that I don't want to improve my self-efficacy for data analysis. But I do want to improve my self-efficacy for marketing so that I can grow my business. I do want to improve it I want my podcasts to be great. I want them to get better. I do want to improve my coaching. Every single day I'm learning. So when we continue to break it down and really dive deep into self-efficacy, I'm talking about the kind of confidence that you have in the moment, like to step up when needed. Because we all individually have, a lot of strengths. But we forget and we don't think about all those strengths all the time. We forget we were good at that one thing. And then we're like, oh my goodness, because we haven't practiced. The repetition is way in a rearview mirror that, hey, I did that training. I learned that thing, when I was younger. I learned that thing in corporate training before I switched jobs. I'm really good at that. And so we all have a lot of strength that we forget from time to time. And, we're really good at knowing what we're not good at. We're really good at seeing and knowing the things that we don't succeed with and that the things that don't come natural. But we forget all the time all the things that we're great at. And sometimes it helps to just remind ourselves and remind other people of those great gifts. And when I talk about self-efficacy, I'm also referring to the moments when you can self-manage your mind, like your mental, ability to manage your thoughts and what's coming up in the moment. And are you seeing red when, like a fire truck goes by and then now you emotionally go to red? When you're thinking, sometimes and assuming what someone is thinking about you, therefore you're acting on behalf of these made up things in your mind when we don't know for sure. So that's also what I'm talking about with self-efficacy, because sometimes people, will give us a certain look, and then based on past experiences, we go, they were thinking blank. They were thinking that I did such and such, that I'm doing such, whatever it is, but we make this stuff up in our mind. And so self-efficacy in this situation is that you have the confidence, that you have the repetition and the ability to recognize in that moment that you're making shit up. That person who just looked a certain way didn't say the words that you're hearing in your mind. And in that moment, you have the self-efficacy to manage that situation and not let your thoughts run away with you. And that's something that takes, repeated learning and repeated. It's like going to the gym, and when you begin to lift weights, you start with a 5 pound, you move up to 10 to 15 to 20, whatever your growth process is. But you start somewhere, and then it's like, oh, I know this thing like the back of my hand now. I know it like when I recognize those thoughts are coming up and they're not thoughts that I really want to be thinking. Also self-efficacy are things like when you were in high school, we got up and did speeches. Nobody wanted to do those things. Well, I wanted to do those things because I wanted to take a biology test and perform it. I didn't want to memorize all this stuff. I didn't want to take a writing test. So I love giving speeches, getting up in front of the classroom, right? And a lot of people hated that because that is like, one of the top fears in the world is public speaking. And, we had the confidence to go, okay, the first time it's unfamiliar, but I can get up here and do that thing. And so for some of us, you may have only had public speaking experience in high school, but if you had to do a presentation at work, you can get up and do that thing because you have some experience doing it. And so I'm talking about self-efficacy when it's like you first begin dating someone. Maybe you're putting yourself back out there because you've been married. Now maybe, hypothetically, you're going through a divorce. And now what happens is you want to pull back from that first time when you asked someone out, where you were proactive in getting the date and doing the thing for the girl, for the boy, right? And so going up and talking to that person, yeah, we feel uncomfortable, but we did it anyway. And we survived. And so those are the moments that I want you to go and pull from. It's like, I don't know how to do that thing. I want you to think about all the stuff that you've done in your past when it's like, okay, in a way I have done this. And then we gather the evidence that I can do this thing. And so there's so many ways that we can nurture our self-confidence and our self-efficacy. Number one, by complimenting each other on the smallest thing. Because what happens is that is building that muscle for each other. Because do we know the lack of confidence? What happens when we have this lack, when we have this level of doubt? It leads to more limiting beliefs. These beliefs create an internal narrative, right? Those stories that we're telling ourselves that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not capable of doing that thing. And as a result, many of us settle for less than what we deserve, and this stifles our potential. And so, we all get thrown curveballs in life, but that's normal. But it's how you deal with it that matters. It's your level of self-efficacy and how you deal with those limiting beliefs that are popping up in your mind, the curveballs that are thrown your way, because it has so much to do with perspective. And constantly beating yourself up or even fearing failure can turn a confident kid, who was so confident when they were getting up to walk, into an adult who doesn't take the action that he or she really wants to take. And so when we don't have the confidence, when we're doubting ourselves, opportunities pass us up. Whether it's a chance for a new job, where it's a chance for a new, a relationship, you have a new idea, and then you watch someone else who had a little more confidence or self-efficacy in that situation, go out there and do the thing. You're like, that was my idea. These hesitations, lead to us just really missing out on some things. And then later on, we have a whole lot of regret. Doubt and self-confidence, the lack thereof, impacts our relationships. We think that we're not worthy enough. We think that we have to settle and, settle for less than what we really want. in our relationships in order to keep that relationship. It affects our ability to communicate openly, to express ourselves, self-efficacy in knowing that if someone is saying something to you and that you don't agree with, you are competent in your self-efficacy, that you can go, hey, you know what? I don't appreciate what you just said and I disagree, whatever that thing is. But having the ability and the confidence to step up and express yourself authentically when you need to and when it's important to you. And confidence is a catalyst for everything that we want in life, our personal growth. Without it, our growth becomes stagnant. We don't take risks. We don't try new things. We don't pursue, ambitious goals. And so this lack of confidence, it really takes a mental toll on us. I know, there are times when I haven't been as confident as I wanted to be, and then I was overcritical. There was some anxiety that came up. I was feeling inadequate, and all it was me making these things up in my mind that I was convincing myself that I wasn't good at. And to now break it down to the nitty-gritty. The biggest thing, which is why I've decided that I'm going to focus on this, is that we settle for mediocrity. We settle when we lack confidence. Whether it's in your career choices, your personal aspirations, relationships, a lack of confidence will lead us to accept situations that don't align with our true desires and potential. But the good news is we can always get confidence back. It's about understanding where you took a detour and not spending a whole lot of time looking back in that rearview mirror, but it's making the intentional efforts to rediscover that fearless kid you once were. So as I begin to wrap up this episode, I want you to ask yourself a few questions. Are you someone who believes that you can figure something out in a moment? Are you someone who believes in your capabilities? Are you someone who believes that you will work that thing out? Are you someone who, let's say you're in your career, in your corporate job, and you've been given, a task that you've never done before? Are you someone who can confidently ask for help and then confidently figure things out and work that out, in the moment and get that task accomplished? So I want you to ask yourself, do you have the confidence and the self-efficacy to speak up when something needs to be changed, when maybe you're not being treated right? This last one is the biggest question, because this is a place where I question myself. Are you someone who takes on challenging tasks, or do you take the easy route? Are you someone who goes, I know, I really want to lose 60 pounds, but I know I can lose 20, so that's my goal. And I know I have been guilty of that. And so one of the goals for this podcast this year is to motivate you, to empower you, to reach and strive for bigger, more challenging things so that you're not settling for what you already know you can do and succeed at. And so because this part of it is not about settling in life and not settling in your relationships, it's my goal to help you strive for that next level. What's next level you look like? And I remember when I was teaching high school, most of you know I taught high school for 24 years. And I would always motivate my students to shoot for the moon. And if they missed, they would land among the stars. But as adults, we don't even think about that stuff anymore. We don't even think about really going for it. We got to be practical. We got to be realistic. We forgot, and we continue to forget about those dreams that we once had as a kid. So I want you to ask yourself these questions. Where is your level of self-efficacy for certain tasks? And is it something that you want to improve through persistent repetition and build that muscle? Okay, my peeps, we're going to continue talking about this because I have found that when I go and do, public speaking, I do presentations, we are never too old to learn about confidence. And we can never talk about confidence enough because, again, self-doubt is the thing that kills more dreams than anything else. All right, my peeps, that's what I have for you today. I hope you're having the most beautiful January, and we'll talk next week. And if I can ask a favor of you, if you're finding value from this podcast, please share it with someone. And then more importantly, I would love for you to leave a review of it, because it helps more people find the podcast, and it helps it, come up more in the search engines. And so rate and review the podcast, share it with someone else that you think could find value. All right, my peeps, Happy New Year 2024. We're here.